La Monarca by Sofia Masuda. Cheek pressed against the cold glass, my eyes heavy. I see the sun beaming across the buildings as we pass them. I turn to my left to see mi mama. She is driving, her hair pinned into a messy updo, her eyes red and puffy. She had been driving all night, but with a grin on her face, she looks at me, pats my hand, and says, "We are almost there, mija." I give her a smirk, turn back to face the window, staring and watching everything I've ever known pass me by. My school, my friends, my city, my home. But this needed to happen. Mama worked so hard to take care of me. Now it is time to take care of her. With my wandering thoughts on my mind and building after building passing us by, my eyes shut once again. Suddenly, I feel the car stop and I wake to the sight of my grandmother waving at me from her doorstep. She comes to greet us with open arms and plenty of kisses. "Hola familia, come inside," she says as she nudges us in the door. It's been years since I visited my grandmother. As we walk in the house, there is a living room with a couch and a small television across from it. The walls are decorated with Mexican trinkets and there is an ofrenda in the corner of the room, with pictures of family members who are no longer with us. As I walk down the hallway to the bedrooms, the walls are covered with more photos of the family. One of the pictures that stood out to me was a black and white photo of a little girl with a butterfly on her finger. She looked so happy and the butterfly was so still and beautiful. Mi abuela Fina was standing in the kitchen making some handmade tortillas, along with a pot of homemade soup sitting on the stove top. The delicious smell carried throughout the house, calling me to the kitchen table. Mama helped Abuela Fina put the food in the middle of the table. We sat down and Abuela Fina began to say grace. "Dear God, gracias for bringing mi hija and mi beautiful granddaughter to me safely. We thank you for this delicious comida that we are about to enjoy, and I pray to you to bless mi hija through this difficult time, and that you give us strength. In the Lord's name, Amen." Then we proceed to eat. After we ate, we settled into our rooms, unpacking our clothes into the closets. I had my own room across from Mama's, and Abuela Fina was down the hall. This was my first time not sharing a room, but Abuela Fina said it is important for Mama to have her own room because she needed her rest. As the week went on, I decided to explore more of the house, so I took a stroll through the backyard. It wasn't very big, but it was very well kept. The ground was covered in bright green grass, and lining the edge of the yard was a long rectangular wooden planter full of weed-like plants and small pink flowers. I found it odd that this was the only plant other than grass that was planted, but without paying too much attention to it, I turned around and walked back inside. On my way back to my room, I stopped again at the photo with the little girl and the butterfly. As I stood in the hallway staring at the photo, Abuela Fina came up next to me. "Hola, Charo, ¿qué estás haciendo?" she said. "Nada, Abuela Fina. Me gusta esta foto," I responded. "Ah, es tu mamá," she explained. "This was taken in the backyard when she was your age, about 10 years old." "De veras? Wow," I said. "Sí, tu mamá loves spending time in the garden during the winter to take care of the butterflies," she said, reminiscing on the memory. "Maybe next week you can help me do some gardening." "Sí, I would love that," I responded, excited to spend time with mi abuela. Meanwhile, Mama was in the other room sleeping. She's been sleeping more and more recently, but the doctors say she needs all the rest she can get. They also say that she is taking medicine that makes her tired all the time. So, Abuela Fina has been bringing her food to her room so that she wouldn't have to get up if she didn't need to. The medicine she's been taking makes all her hair fall out. We had to shave it all off. Since Mama needs her rest, Abuela Fina and I have been spending more time together. The next week rolls around and after school one day, Abuela Fina takes me to the backyard to help her tend to the garden. She explained to me that the plants in the back were milkweed. She says, "I plant these here because every winter here in Mexico, la La monarca butterflies migrate to Michoacana and stay here for a few months. I love to have butterflies around, so I've created a home for them to stay. Cuando tu mamá was a little girl, she loved to watch the beautiful mariposas fly around in the garden. Why are they only here in the winter? I ask. Because after a few months they fly south in the spring towards Canada, she answers. Tu mamá loved the butterflies so much that she would cry whenever they would leave. When she got sad, I used to tell her, a veces cuando crees que es el final es tan solo un nuevo comienzo, meaning sometimes when you think it's the end, it's just a new beginning. I smiled at her and continued to help tend to the plants. Days passed and more butterflies came to live in our milkweed garden. It became a routine. Every Tuesday and Friday, I would go with Abuela Fina to tend to the plants and watch the butterflies lay their cocoons. They were so beautiful and free. Their orange, black, and white colored wings, each one with a unique pattern. They would fly from flower to flower and sit so still. Time always felt as if it was standing still. I spent hours outside just observing their way of life. This brought me comfort. I spent day after day in the garden. Mi mamá never really came outside to play because she needed a chance to rest and take her medicine. The doctors say she isn't getting better. Abuela Fina says she needs to stay in bed to save up her strength, so she watches me play with the mariposas from her window. Abuela Fina and I have had a lot of time to spend together and bond. I've learned so much from her. Since we've been here, she has taught me how to cook many traditional Mexican dishes. My favorite one to cook is breakfast chilaquiles con huevos. She also has me doing more chores to help around the house, so mi mamá does not have to worry. Every meal I set the table, and after we eat, I wash the dishes. I also have been washing my own clothes and hanging them to dry. I usually don't enjoy helping out around the house, but Abuela Fina makes it fun. She tells me stories of the good old days, telling me tales of mi mamá when she was young. A couple months passed and the winter was coming to an end. Life with Abuela Fina started to feel normal, but there was some days that got harder than others. Mama stopped going to the doctors and never really left her room anymore. She just looked at the walls with blank expression on her face. She says she's fine, but at night I can hear Abuela Fina and her crying in their rooms. I didn't really understand what was going on, but when that happened, I would face the sky, close my eyes, and begin to pray. Dear God, ¿por qué lloren? Por favor, watch over mi mamá y Abuela Fina. I know Mama is in a lot of pain from her illness, but please allow her peace and sanctuary. In the Lord's name, Amen. March 20th, a cold and windy morning. The wind hit against the glass to the windows, causing a large rumbling noise. I jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen where I see Abuela Fina hunched over the table, the tears in her eyes. She turned to me, her eyes red and puffy, as if she was crying all night. She called me over to sit beside her. I asked, Hola, Abuela, ¿qué pasó? Is everything okay? She tried her best to stop crying, cleared her throat, and began to speak. Listen, Charo. Tu mamá had a really hard night last night. The doctors came over in the middle of the night to check on her. She is no longer with us. In that moment, Abuela Fina's words became meaningless. Everything went blurry. When she had finished and got up to give me a hug, I didn't know what to say. I got up and walked outside to the garden. This was the one place that had brought me comfort these last few months. Then a thought pops into my head, a saying Abuela Fina once told me about the butterflies. A veces cuando quieres que es el final es tan solo un nuevo comienzo. Sometimes when you think it's the end, it's just a new beginning. A feeling of comfort and reassurance came over me. My eyes started to water up and a tear falls from my face. I lift my finger to the sky and let the last monarch I lift up my finger to the sky and let the last monarca mariposa fly away.